Okay, guys, so like the title says, guys, should you buy a cheap car or a used car? Let me get my thumbnail. But, okay, we're gonna just dissect this real quick, okay? Because a lot of people, right, especially young people, they're like, oh, I'm gonna get a nice car, I'm gonna get a new car. But, they're still working multiple jobs or, jobs to provide for the car and, to pay the monthly bills or whatever. So my best advice, guys, is you guys gotta look at the pros and cons. It depends on your situation, okay? So I live in Hawaii. Hawaii is a small freaking place. And I work everywhere that I worked. It was always close to where I lived. I didn't need to travel far. I didn't need to commute on the freeway and wait in traffic. And the island is small. No matter where I go, everything is small. Okay? It's like I'm not gonna be traveling for hours and hours and worried about traveling and stuff like that. So for me, guys, I got a cheap car. I got a car for about $4,000 in 2021, and the only thing I paid it off already, only $4,000. Cheap car. It's a reliable car, but the mileage was it was low for an old car, but it is high for it is high technically, but it was low mileage technically for an older car. You know what I'm saying? Like, for example, not example, but what I'm trying to say is, look at your circumstances, okay? I got a cheaper car. I paid it off monthly. Not monthly. I paid it off one crack because it's a cheap car. You know what I'm saying? So if you're trying to get a cheap car, here's some benefits, right? You can pay it off one crack. Okay? So when you get the car, you transfer the title, you transfer information, you can pay it off one crack. You give it, like I bought my car off of Craigslist. I bought it off of somebody else. I didn't go to the car dealer or anything. So I paid the person cash. I got the car. I inspected the car. I brought somebody that knew how to check for cars or whatever, basic car maintenance to make sure that the car was good. I think I was 19 at the time. Yeah, in 2021, I was 19 when I got my car. I paid it $4,500. And then after that, the only things that I need to pay every month is, not every month, but every month I would pay insurance, right? Car insurance. And then, once a year you'll pay for car registration. And then you'll pay for, safety checks. And then, of course, you pay for gas and whatever that you guys need, right, for your car. So for my car, right, for older car, all I need to pay, guys, I don't need to pay car monthly payments to pay off my car. My car is not worth 20, 30 grand, okay, or 50 grand. I don't need to pay monthly. So I'm saving money, all right? So that was the benefit of it. I paid it off right away. I don't need to spend as much money as possible. Just gotta make sure I pay insurance. When the registration is due, I pay it. When I do safety checks, when I put gas, maybe my car needs fixing, I pay for it. But other than that, I don't need to pay $500, $6 a month for car payments. So that's a benefit for it. Okay? Number two, if you travel little, all right, if you don't travel too far, like I said, guys, I live in Hawaii, which is a small state, small island, small state, and I don't need to drive far. All right, so even if I needed to drive far, it wasn't far, but all of my jobs, everything that I went to, gym, training, school, anything that I did, jobs, church, health related stuff, doctors, everything was nearby. So I didn't need to drive far. Every job that I worked at was nearby where I lived. All right, I didn't need to commute far. So I was saving gas, I was saving money, I was saving my mileage, and I was just going, going wherever I needed to go. It was cheap. I didn't need to spend money, So if you guys don't have to travel far, I know a lot of you guys live in the States, you guys live for, you guys have big states and you guys need to commute far. But if if you work near your house, if everything's near your house, you don't need a new car to, like you're driving for 5 minutes and then bang right there. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, bro, you don't need to be going to your job. I know a lot of people, they buy new cars, right? Some of my boys, they buy new cars, like $50,000 cars. And they gotta pay it off monthly, and they pay like $900 a month with whatever that they're trying to do. And then pretty much is like, they get to the point where they work like 10 minutes away from where they live, and they paying like it's kind of weird. It's like they go take their new car, They take it to the job that they work 10 minutes down, and then they come back home. And then they go to their next job, which is another 5 minutes down, and they're not even traveling far. So I'm like, bro, why do you need a new car, right? Like, you're wasting money pretty much. You're going to your job for you to go back home and use that money that you use for your job to pay for a fucking car that's worth like $900 a month, and then you got other bills that you guys gotta pay. You got other things that you guys gotta, all these other necessities that you guys gotta pay. And you go to your other job, and the job's like 5 minutes away from your house, and then you use that money to pay for a car and everything else. So I'm like, bro, like, you think about it, it's kind of like, why? Like, you know, it's like, what do you, like, I get it, you need a newer car if you're traveling far, right? It's more reliable. You don't got to worry about, oh, is my car gonna break down? Is my car gonna, do I have to fix this up today? Is my car overheating? You know what I'm saying? Like, don't get a piece of junk car as well. Like, do your research and like, know your cars first. But a lot of people, they're like, do you really need a new car? Like, especially when you're young, you're trying to get ahead. I don't get that, okay? Number 3, guys. What was I gonna say? If you get a cheap car, guys, some cons of it is, eventually, you guys gotta fix stuff, okay? So get a cheap car if you know a mechanic. So the benefit with me is I have a family mechanic. So if something does happen with my car, I have somebody to go to. I don't have to pay him a lot of money. You know, the guy can do it. I can give him like $100. But if you take it into like a real car shop, they'll charge you like $1,000, $1,400. It's like, bro, what the hell, right? So with my car, guys, when I first got my car, everything was all right. But then the engine light came on. And I was like, oh, why the engine light came on? And then everything was like shaky. Whenever I started the car, it would stutter and shake. And then it'll go away after. But every time that I warmed up the car, it would be like shaky. So eventually the engine light came on. And then we found out that it was like one of the, not sensors, it was one of the ignition coils, right? It was causing it to shake. So we decided to change the ignition coil. I didn't have to go to the shop. The guy came, mechanic came, fixed it. And then later on, when I was driving up to my job, right, I was going up this hill. And then after that, the engine light came on. And right after the engine light came on, my car lost power. It didn't die out, but it was just like I couldn't accelerate. It was going like 10 miles per hour. So I got to like on parking lot. And then the engine light came on. I called one of my, somebody to tow truck me away. And then after that, the mechanic came. And he did his he did his diagnostics. And then he found out that it was one of the car sensors. And that's why it burnt out. And then some other things that he did, he did some basic stuff, He changed my car, my brakes, my rotors, my brake pads. He changed my fluids. He changed my engine oil. He did all kinds of different stuff, right? So, get a cheap car if you know a mechanic, a reliable mechanic. You save money, you save time, build relationships with people. But also, just know that if you get a cheap car, eventually you gotta fix stuff. When I got my car, it was 114,000 mileage, which is low for an old car. But also, it's a high mileage, technically, if you compare it to other cars. That's a high mileage, but it's a low mileage for an older car. But, if you get a Toyota or Honda, that shit can last up to 300,000 mileage. It lasts as long. But you got to know, you got to come in with open-minded that eventually you got to fix something, right? You might have to change your battery. You might have to change your tires, your brakes, your rotors. You might have to change out the oils. You might try to change the air filter. You might have to change your spark plugs and your ignition coil. You might have to change the timing belt. You might have to change, some sort of suspension, your ball joints, or, whatever that it is, your struts or your shock absorbers in your suspension system. Maybe your car might start leaking oil. You got to change something, one of the hoses or something. My car, last year, at the end of 2024, it started leaking. Like, every time that I drove, I was like, bro, my gas is low. Every time it's running low. It smells like gas when I'm driving. I'm like, what does that smell? So I checked it, and they said that it was leaking like fuel. Like, it was like from the fuel pump. It had a hole inside. So I have to fix that, right? Over time, your car needs fixing. So I'm tired of talking already. I gotta go eat lunch. But anyways, guys, these are some things that you guys gotta keep in mind if you get a cheaper car, all right? So I'll see you guys later, all right? Let's go.